what's up, everybody? Welcome to day 3 of Unlimited and Upgraded Consciousness with me, your host, and favorite spiritual awakening coach, Vic or Vikashif Dasani. And today, um, I really want to talk about synchronicities and signs. Something I learned early on in my journey was once I accepted my life and started moving forward, it was as if life was always meeting me halfway, right? I wanted to play wheelchair basketball, and I saw a billboard about wheelchair basketball driving down the road. I wanted a job, specifically in this case I wanted a job at the apartments I lived at, and then I got an email of a job opening um, like a week later from thinking this. And so I started seeing a lot of these things that would come around, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. I don't know if I was very aware of these things before, and as I continued on my journey, I saw more and more of it. My mom, she was really into Wayne Dyer, a big famous speaker, and one year we decided to go to New York to go to a conference that he was speaking at, and my mom really wanted to meet him, and so she literally was like, "I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer. I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer. I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer," and then we flew over there. And the day of the event, we went to the venue, got our seats. My mom went to the bathroom, and Wayne Dyer standing right there, and they have this whole conversation, and he hugs her, and she tells him my story about my accident and everything we've been through, and he was just like, "Oh, where you're sitting," and he literally started the entire event saying, "So I just met this lady," and this was in front of 3,000 people. He's like, "I just met this lady," and told my entire story, and pretty much called me out and told me that everything he was saying that day he was directing to me, and the whole talk was about the art of manifestation, that you can create your reality. And in that talk, he spoke about this lady I've been talking about, Anita Murjani, who wrote the book Dying to Be Me and miraculously healed from end stage cancer. And we heard the story while we're in the event. We had not known about Anita yet, and that's how we found out. And then, we found out that I'm Indian. She was the same type of Indian as me, and she was from Hong Kong. We got relatives live in Hong Kong. We hit them up, and they connected with us, and I ended up connecting with her and got to meet her, and that's how that story happened. And with Dr. Joe, I after one of my after my health issues I was going through, and I was getting into meditation, I started reading Dr. Joe books, and my family, we have a meditation center in McAllen, Texas called Infinite Love, and we actually had Anita come down once to do an event with us, and I opened for her. And when we hung out and spoke, she said, next year I'm doing a cruise event with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even talk to her about Dr. Joe. And so, the following year, I went on that cruise, and I ended up meeting and talking to Dr. Joe and just learning this information more and more and more. And after that, I went on 6 workshops, with Dr. Joe. And so, the point is that uh, everything I've done, and pretty much everything I'm doing now is because I've been led to it. I'm not necessarily controlling, I'm allowing things to happen. And then these little interesting coincidences just happen. And then here we are, in this, new possibility or new reality. And so, I really, we really got to be aware. It really is about letting go of control of your reality and being okay with what is, and also just looking and seeing those signs. We see them all the time. We just call them coincidences or whatever, but literally all the time, every conversation we're having with them, there's always messages being sent to us. And the more and more we anchor into the moment, the more we can be aware of these things. And so my guest today is Simran Singh, and she's an award-winning author. She's got a radio show. She's she's got a magazine, and she's big on the signs and synchronicities. And I've known her since 2013, 2014 time, and she actually has helped me quite a bit on my journey. So I'm really excited to bring her on to this event. And so, without further ado, Simran Singh. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the third day of Unlimited and Upgrade in Consciousness. And today I have Simran Singh with me. Simran Singh, she's an author, she's a speaker, she's been on a TED Talk, and she's a mystic. Simran, welcome to the program.
It's wonderful to be here with you, Vic. I'm so excited about what you're putting out in the world and the upgrades you're going to be giving people through this. So
Oh,
thank you for inviting me.
yes, absolutely. And you've written a few books. Most notably in my mind is Conversations with the Universe, and that was a really big impact for me. But before we really get into that, I just could you share a little bit of how did you even get into spirituality or in this realm of work?
The way that I came in was really out of exploration. I wanted to figure out how life works. I wanted to understand why there's pain, how to move beyond it, how to experience something greater than what my life was. And so I kind of stumbled upon it. I originated in the fashion industry and I worked with patterns and colors and people and their stories all day long as I dealt with them. And I began writing a fashion blog. And slowly that fashion blog turned more into a self help, self exploration blog that kind of connected to fashion. And then I started to see the connection between clothing patterns and the way that we mask with the way that we look. Uh,
Mm,
into how we mask ourselves and our souls and those types of things. And during that time, my life was going through some very difficult experiences. And so I literally asked for a sign, and signs started coming. And the more the signs started coming, and I started to understand that I was having a conversation with the universe through a set of numbers, 1111, I wondered, are there other ways that the universe speaks to us? And I started to discover that we're spoken to all the time, every day, in many ways. It's not just a symbol, sign, or synchronicity. It is volumes, it is paragraphs. We are here simply to put that together uh, in partnership with the universe, that we are co-creating our lives and co-creating this planet, and that in fact, everything that is in our world is a conversation with the universe speaking back to me, speaking back to you about you, speaking back to your audience about them. And if we live from that perspective, then we're no longer victims. We all of a sudden have to take responsibility for what's showing up in front of us. It's no longer someone outside of us to blame. It is that that person shows up as a gift and a sign and a symbol for the very places internally that we may be aware of or unaware of, that we can now bring healing or empowerment or love and attention, whatever is required in that moment. So it has been the way that I have lived my life,
mhm.
that I have personally grown exponentially by leaps and bounds beyond what I think I probably would have. And it has helped me to expand my heart and connect more deeply with the world around me, which I think is ultimately what we're here to do, is to create a greater sense of connection and oneness.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful such a beautiful answer, and there was so many pieces that you said in there that I'm going to expand on. So, the first thing I want to talk about is, you mentioned 1111 and the signs. And when I first read your book and saw your TED talk, like that's what I was experiencing, because I got paralyzed and then my life completely changed, and I stumbled upon spirituality too, because like I almost didn't like once I accepted my life in a wheelchair and started moving forward, it was just that life just started happening. It was just throwing me all these like signs, like, oh, you want a job? Here's an email for a job. Like, oh, you want, you want to play wheelchair basketball? Here's a sign while you're driving down the highway about wheelchair. Like, there was just so many things, and then it's just kind of led to now where it's just like, it's just normal. It's like I see like signs and synchronicities like all the time, like on that kind of, I mean, maybe not even fully to the paragraph level. I'm sure there's things that we miss, but like I totally agree that there's so much to that. So for somebody who is maybe like new to the synchronicity awareness, and I've seen a lot of numbers and like all that kind of stuff. I see them as breadcrumbs. I see them as leading me, to where I'm trying to go. So for somebody who like wants more depth to that answer, what would you say, is the significance of signs and synchronicities?
A conversation requires two. And so you've been putting out the call for a long time. Anybody that is starting to see any sort of sign and symbol or synchronicity, it's because they've asked in some sort of way. I asked out loud. You may have prayed. Other people may have broken down and begged. Like, we ask in all kinds of ways for those signs and symbols, or for that help, or for that understanding and meaning as to why something has happened in our life. And these struggles that show up in our lives, these spiritual moments, these deeply, deeply spiritual moments, are really answers to what our soul desires us to experience. And they are deaths, so to speak. They are an ego death that has to happen for us to open to a greater magic and wonder that exists. And so when we call out for those signs and symbols and synchronicities, the universe responds, and it places those things around us. Some of us are present and aware and capture them, and others continue to go on through life in the gray fog and never realize that there is magic and awe and wonder. But it exists all the time for all of us, no matter whether we're looking or not. For those that are willing to step into that pathway of awe and wonder, all of a sudden that partnership lets them ride a river of light that they didn't even realize existed and weaves through this planet. It is its own bloodstream, so to speak, that is connecting all of us and connecting us from the seen to the unseen. And so with your own life, you have seen, if I just surrender to that, if I move more closely to accepting what my life is giving me, moving through all the iterations of whether that looks like sadness or anger or depression or joy and bliss and happiness, but really allowing myself to deepen into the humanity of what this experience is showing me, then I'm going to actually experience even more of that synchronicity. I'm going to open myself to even a greater experience of that divinity that is not just around me trying to connect to me, but you will eventually discover it is you. That the signs and the symbols and the synchronicities are actually placed there by you, by your own soul, in communion with you. And ultimately, what we are here to discover, what this time, this year, this period in history is bringing us all to, is to no longer seek externally for things, but to recognize that it's all us, that we are the divine in form, and everything we're creating, the good, the bad, the ugly, the signs, the symbols, and the synchronicities, are the ways that our divinity shows up in support of us and our own awakening.
Mm, I love it. I love how you like put everything into words. And so, we're on this journey and we're following the signs and we're seeing these things that, our higher self or our soul or God is placing in front of us. But to be able to truly go on this path and follow those signs, that what you mentioned was the ego death that we have to go through. This, we're literally losing a part of ourselves. It's a part of our limited self, to allow ourselves to be more unlimited. But it's
it's scary, right? It's hard. And so I feel like I've gone through it enough times up till this point where it's like, okay, like this is the way to go and I can kind of deal with it. But for somebody who is kind of new to it, or, you know, what would you tell someone who is like, oh, I'm about to go through this, you know, ego death, or like, what would you tell them to comfort them, I guess?
I would tell them it is scary. It is hard. It is excruciating. It is going to feel like you are going to die, but it is an ego that is dying. It is not you. You have been calling for transformation. You have wanted alchemy. You have wanted to live your best life and empower yourself and shine brighter than you ever have before. And this is the pathway there. You have layered upon yourself garment after garment after garment that you can't see. Right now, you're wearing an outfit, and every single day you take a shower and you put on a new outfit. What you don't realize is from the time you were born, you have been putting on layers of garments that you can't see, but you've forgotten to take them off and you've forgotten to wash yourself clean of them. And so those layers of garments are the belief systems and the woundings and the patterns and the behaviors and the emotions and the fears that weren't even yours. They were the hand-me-downs that you put on. And so when an ego death happens, and you will have more than one, you will have many, 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 many ego deaths, because you have as many egos as you have years you have been alive. It is really you finally discarding all of the hand-me-downs that you have put on over time, because you are a divine presence and you deserve to wear the regality of princely and princess robes that you were anointed with at the time of your birth. You are here now to stand in the purity of your expression, in the holiness of your true countenance, so that you shine as the divine light that you are here to be on the planet. And to do that, it means you must discard every single mask that you've been wearing. All these masks, as beautiful as some of them might be, they're not your true face. And it is time to bring them down so that your true face shines on the planet.
I think it's really cool that you started this journey with a fashion blog and we're able to connect that with like us garmenting ourselves in a way. And you know, how interesting is that? You know, and we're living in a time where now we're wearing masks and there's, you know, all sorts of stuff, and like, you know, it's we're hiding even more maybe
What
by
better conversation with the universe can the universe provide for us right now? Like, it's in our face. The mask is in our face and we're hiding behind it. That is the ultimate conversation at this point. And not only are we hiding behind it, so is everyone else.
Mhm.
And that, you know, that's the humor of the universe. That's the beauty of it. That's the subtlety of it. That is the mysticism within life, that if we're willing to tap into it and really enjoy it for what it is, then it doesn't have to be a painful experience. It's when we want to control and when we want to fight the experience that's in front of us, instead of realizing the artwork that is in front of us to be viewed and then taken inside and really felt and experienced.
Yeah, and so, you know, acceptance is the word that comes to mind over and over and over again in my life. And I define acceptance as literally just being okay with what is. You know, I had to apply that to my life after my accident. I had to apply that, and I'm just learned that like this is just the, as far as having freedom, or you know, being at ease or being in flow, accepting what is the way. Like if we were to break down this whole journey, I would say just be okay with everything. Would you agree with that, and what could you add to that?
Most definitely, you know, if we look at constriction or struggle or frustration or anxiety or fear, it is all an inability to accept where you are. And freedom is in the moment, regardless of what the external experiences look like. There are many spiritual lessons that we're here to learn. And the more one goes on a journey, or if their soul has chosen them to have a very profound journey, such as your own, where you ended up in the wheelchair, it is simply because you are here to really discover the higher spiritual truths. And those are things like acceptance and forgiveness and detachment. Those are things like neutrality and equanimity. Those are things like truly understanding every emotion and being willing to be with it, to embrace it rather than resist it. And as individuals move more into that place of acceptance rather than escapism, they will find that those things are really not that hard, that the struggle doesn't have to be there, and that those very experiences that they encounter are the doorways to their power. I have long said your power is in your pain, but you've got to sink into that pain to discover it.
Yeah, it's huge in my work, and similar to your work in a sense, where when I work with people, I teach them how to locate where they're feeling the emotion, where they're feeling the feeling, and actually put their attention in that specific area, and then it grows, and then you really go into it, and it's a very uncomfortable thing to do. And most people are so used to just being in their heads, right? Like the emotion comes and it's like blame, 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 complain, 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 instead of like, oh, wait, where am I feeling this? Let me go into that. What's this about? Let's have this introspective process and really like, where is this coming from? Is there a memory this is connected to? And so this is kind of the stuff that I do to, when we get there, then the fireworks happens, right? When then the emotion grows, then maybe you cry. Some people I connect with yawn or cough. There's many ways of releasing, and so that process of accepting that emotion and feeling and releasing, and how do you guide the people you talk to feel that?
It is very much the same. I believe in immersing inside of the emotions that come to us. To me, it is a process of absorbing that. And to absorb it, you have to fully embrace it. I look at all emotions as colors in a crayon box.
Mhm.
And if you look at one of those 64 packs that have the 3 rows of colors, you would not tell a child, I want you just to color with the front row that's all the bright colors, that's all the true colors or the pastels. Stay away from those dark colors in the back because they're bad. In the same way, your emotions are like that. We are not here to say, I just want to stay in the happy feeling, in the bliss feeling, in the joy, in the contentment. We are here to understand that our colors of envy and rage and depression and sadness and resentment and bitterness are equally valuable, that creates the texture of life, and that color exists within us. And so once we can look at emotion as experience, simply experience, then all of a sudden we don't have to go into the mental gymnastics about it. All of a sudden we can drop down below the neck rather than staying inside the head, and understand that we are that art form that the creator created. And it is only by truly embracing all of our colors that we can exhibit the true work of art that we are in the world. And so for anyone to truly step into their power, to be of any impact or shine their light in any true way, they have to completely absorb and embrace the colors within them. Otherwise, they're really only showing up as a diluted, partial sense of who they really are.
Hmm. And this is really incorporating their shadow selves. This is what a lot of people call shadow work. You're incorporating your shadow. We usually want to push it away or avoid it. And in my experience, a lot of this shadow work, all these emotions that we're uncovering are have been suppressed for a long time, or I mean, even before that, right? We learned a lot from maybe our parents and society and all this stuff. But as we lived our lives, because we learned these patterns or these ways of being, and this was something I relate to in my own journey, is that I grew up just suppressing emotions. I grew up not getting into my feelings. I grew up just, avoiding, and that just created like a volcano. Anytime that something made me angry, I got really angry, right? Or I got really went kind of all the way there. And so I try to, like, there's this idea that the issue is not the issue, where a lot of times we get caught up with the issue that's happening, that's making us feel that way, and not realizing that there's actually a connection to so many different past experiences that we didn't actually look at, correct?
Yes, yes. Everything that we encounter is purely an echo of something before. And it always stems back to the first 7-year period of our life. Every single experience that is created relates to ages 0 to 7. And oftentimes that is the place that we have to go to uncover where that original emotion or wound actually was felt and experienced. And when we do that, we free ourselves from subsequent experiences that trigger the same emotion. And so it's important to go in and feel that. People that resist the shadow, people that resist the ego, they're really resisting the other half of themselves. And you can never be whole unless you embrace both of them. If you look at the symbol yin yang, you will see that within the white there is a dot of black, and within the black there is a dot of white. And together they create wholeness. And so within everyone's light, there has to be that bit of shadow. That is what allows the light to flourish and be what it is. And within everyone's shadow is the birthplace of light. And so it's necessary for us to do the shadow work, for us to not resist it, but to actually embrace our shadows, to know our shadows, to understand when they get triggered, to understand that the shadow actually loved us enough to walk through all the pathways that it did to eventually get us to the point of awakening and awareness and acceptance. Without the shadow, we would be the walking dead. We would be numb. We would not wake up. The shadow is actually instrumental in that process, but we deny that part of ourselves because we think we're going to be judged. And the only reason we think we're going to be judged is because we judge it ourselves.
Totally. Yeah. And what I've learned is every time I've moved through an emotion, every time I've released something, I get some kind of epiphany, or this like a clear direction, or just something has just been released, and I just have way more clarity on my life. And I think by every time we're releasing this kind of emotion, the more we're kind of tapping into that level of wholeness that allows this kind of connection. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Well, anytime that we allow ourselves to have the compassionate presence and the tenderness toward ourselves, particularly our shadow nature, we actually free ourselves from the ties that bind, because usually the shadow was developed out of us trying to protect ourselves from the wounds or the hurts or the pains or the people that we thought were doing something from us. And so with each embrace of the shadow, you actually release the cords that you have held with other people, to other times, and to other places that have kept you bound. And when you're no longer carrying the weight of the shadow, but you've actually partnered with the shadow, then all of a sudden you open your lens up to a whole new type of life. The partnership with spirit is a partnership of three. It is your light, your shadow, and the innocence of your divine child. Those three components of you coming together are what set you on the path of passion or purpose or aliveness or openness. There's nothing really that any one of us have to do here on the planet. None of us really have a specific purpose other than pure self-acceptance and self-love.
Mm.
Beyond that, you're here to fulfill yourself, whatever that looks like, whether that means working with other people, whether that means being a painter, a dancer, whether that means going out in nature and taking hikes all day long. As long as you're bringing yourself ultimate fulfillment and joy, and you are present to what is rising as waves within you, moment by moment, you are fulfilling your purpose on the planet.
Mm. That's so awesome, because we also, me, myself included, and people that I work with and talk to, we always get caught up, especially in like kind of an ego sense of, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? And it really is like, you're just you're here to uncover yourself. You're here to love yourself. You're here to experience your experiencing itself, right? And when you understand life on that level, it's so beautiful. And so the more I understand to do this and move through and, like, you know, getting these epiphanies, my life changes, right? Our lives change when we do this work. Not only, like, I feel like we become more courageous in a lot of the endeavors we want to partake in. Our relationships get better, our health gets better. And can you touch on, like, the benefits of being on this journey and how this affects these different aspects of our lives?
Well, we simply become more empowered and we become more free. There will come a point, we all venture into certain areas. And once we start to do personal growth work and healing work, it is normal and natural for individuals to kind of engage in that sphere and want to help other people. And what we have to realize is all of our choices, whether it is a traditional line of work like an accountant or a lawyer or a police officer or a fireman or a teacher, or whether it is someone in the healing professions, the metaphysics, and the spiritual world, it's all driven by our fears and how we view ourselves as less than. If we really look at it, we're trying to overcome something that we thought we were. There comes a point when we realize the connection between what we do and who we were and why that was the impetus for where we are. And after we've fulfilled that longing to really express ourselves in that way, there will start to be other things that create more aliveness in you, where you will start to expand how you do that. And that's where the real soul journey begins, because all of a sudden you're stepping more into essence than into this place of having to heal and having to uplift yourself. In that way, you then just shine light. Along the way, endeavor on everything that your heart calls you to do, because it is upgrading you. It is bringing you to that lighter self. It is using the muscle of passion to build and build and build so that you can then continue to be more. But when that moment comes that you know you are complete in a certain area of your life, whether it is a career or whether it is a relationship or whether it is a health issue, at that point, let it go, because it's complete with you. But then you have to be complete with it. And that's where the spiritual lesson of detachment comes.
Mm, yeah, detachment. That's such an important thing, because we have desires, right? We have these wants. And so when we're going out in the world and we're getting them and we're doing our healing work, and then that thing hasn't come yet, it's like, how do you even do that? I want it now, right? And I'm always kind of in between, and then I will eventually get myself to a detached place, especially when it comes to things like business or things like that. And I'm aware of it, and I've evolved a lot with this idea of attachment. And so, can you explain attachment a little bit further, or detachment a little bit further?
Sure. I'll actually go into a little bit of both of them.
Yeah.
Attachment feels sticky. It's like tar. It's like something that won't let go of you and you won't let go of it. It will create pain and struggle and constriction. It will bring forth more obstacles because you want it so badly that you actually create the barrier around yourself that you can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to feel that, so you try to escape it. So many people that are very attached to things, they will find ways of escapism to not feel that, yet they will constantly have that longing. Detachment is different in that the longing can still be there. You are required to deeply feel it. That means you are very, very much in the emotion, you're in the feeling, but you really don't care whether the thing you want shows up or not. You have released any mental construct around it. You've released any emotional attachment to it. You have become the feeling of it. And when you can reach that place of detachment, you open up the energy. There's a vulnerability around you and an openness to allowing that into your life if it's your highest good. And the real measuring factor between attachment and detachment is control.
Mm-hmm.
One is pure control, it's unconscious, and the other is no control, and it's conscious.
I've been told by a couple other teachers to you don't need to know how, and you don't need to know when. You do what you can in the moment to help you get there, but your job is not to know how or when it's going to happen.
Yes, I
Right?
totally agree with that. I think that oftentimes we set our intentions, or we have our visions, or we create vision boards or ideas of what we believe that we want and the direction and the trajectory that we want to go. But that is void of any consideration of what the universe has planned for us. And so oftentimes we'll send ourselves on scenic routes and detours unknowingly because we're interfering with our own divine plan. And so I think it's very important to work and move in the directions that we feel called to move, but to do it loosely so that we are always inviting the universe to lead us that way or to something better, to open our eyes to know fully the divine plan that our soul is here to unfold, so that the ego does step out of the way. It's so easy to fall victim to the ego's wants and desires, as opposed to understanding that what the soul wants is much more of a feeling and a fulfillment. It's not going to be a specific. And so anytime we get into a specific want or desire, we've moved more into the ego and more into one of the garments of the past. But if you can hold it loosely and say, the vision for my life is that I want to feel fulfilled serving, or I want to feel as if I've connected to many individuals, I want to feel fullness in my heart and an experience of expansion, that's very different than saying, I want to reach point F and I want to have this, this, and this by that time. One is a limited construct and a box that the universe then has to try to fit spirit into. And the other one is a much more organic and fluid experience where you are in partnership and expanding into all that spirit is.
Mm. Oh my God. Yes. All the things. I when I think about this journey, and when we are, working with our shadow selves and being detached and like truly living this, is this not our dharma? Is this not, like, growing up Hindu, I was always told that, your dharma is your purpose, and this is like the course kind of set. And this is something this is kind of like, I've thought this before, but like more notably recently, where like, I'm like, by living this way of life is truly living in my dharma. Or, I mean, we said purpose, but I feel like dharma has like another essence to it.
I think that Dharma is deeper. It is more of a soul expression. And so the mind or the ego will say, I'm here to teach, I'm here to support others in healing, support others in being empowered. And it's going to look like mentoring, or a book, or a course, or a series where I interview people. That's my Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
That is the mind's version of your Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of your soul and your essence is the very life that you have lived, the pure expression of perseverance and stamina and self-love and self-growth that you have exhibited as an example has been the expression of the teacher. And it has been modeling that has really impacted the people around you, even more so than any words you could ever say. The words that you say and everything that you create, and the book that's going to be coming out, and what the impact of this course is going to have, is all going to be very beautiful. And it is a way for you to fulfill yourself and to express.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand, you began being a teacher the moment you fell off that balcony. That was your Dharma.
Wow. That just gave me chills. Okay. I think we covered a lot right now, and I think this has been really rich, and I'm excited for people to see this, and I'm excited for people to see you. And you know, you have 1111 radio, you have 1111 magazine, you have your books, you have more books coming out. You have, can let us know what you do? How can people reach you? How can people, you know, people want to hear more from you or work with you? How does that work?
Absolutely. Before I say any of that, I want individuals to really understand they can't get it wrong. You can't get life wrong. There's no mistakes. There's no wrong turns. You can't take the wrong path. You are already the living expression. And as long as you are seeking to expand yourself and you're more inclined to go inward than outward, then you are fulfilling what your soul came here to do. And that is the key. Always be willing to go more inward than outward. Trust that truth, trust that voice, trust that knowing. And then you can't be misguided because only the external world can actually guide you the wrong way. The internal world never will. My work is of two parts. One is 1111mag.com, and that is where I give my gifts to the world. It is 1111 magazine, which is always free. It is a celebration of souls and a modeling of individuals that are doing their work in the world while also sharing uplifting and positive spiritual and metaphysical information. In addition, there's 1111 talk radio shows that are accessible there, and they are archived all the way back to 2009. They are timeless interviews and will be very empowering, rich conversations. Those also are free to everyone. And then I have iamsimran.com, and that is where more of my soul and personality come out. I do have some mentoring. I do less and less of that. I'm feeling more and more inclined to not make the work about me, but to make it more about the energy and the expression that comes through me as a conduit. And so I work with individuals that really want to do the very, very deep work of transmuting and alchemizing their darkness and light into oneness. And I do that through mentoring, but for those people that don't want to go to that depth, I do it through painting. The paintings that I create an energetic resonance that supports the individual just in looking at it, meditating on it, or even passing by it in their rooms to support their subconscious in doing the work that needs to be done. So however it can serve, I have all of my things out there. Take part in what is free, take part in what is not. It's all available.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this call with me. I think I'm so excited that we got to do this. I feel like, you know, I've known you for, I don't know how, like we met in 2014 or 2013 or something like that. And so I've known you for now like about 7 years, and we've always had amazing conversations. And when I thought about having this event, you were one of the first names that came to mind. I was just like, I gotta have Simran because I know we're gonna have such an awesome conversation, and we absolutely did. So thank you so much for coming on here with me.
Well, I'm honored that you included me. I celebrate you, Vic. I celebrate who you are as a human being and as a soul. I've watched you walk your talk. I've watched you grow and expand and touch the lives of many people, and to continue to do your work. And the world is a better place because you're here, for the way that you touch and the way that you express and the gifts that you're going to bring forth in your upcoming book and through all the ways that you express your voice. So continued success and blessings and transformations, both within and without, as you move forward.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And right back at you. You're totally a blessing to this world as well. So thank you for everything.
Hey everybody, Shawn Elliot. I wanted to introduce this next song, Hey Nana, with my good friend Ray Bettis. There was a point where I had been meditating a lot, and I had this experience where all of a sudden I knew, not felt, not as a passing feeling or sensation or even as a thought, like a conceptual thing, where I knew, I just, in my bones, knew that I had been a tree, I had been a frog, I had been a bird, I had been all of these things. I can't explain it. It just suddenly hit me that the essence of me had been all of that prior to me being born. And that really, I had such a sense of peace that day. Peace and awe. I had no words for it. So I ended up creating this song that basically talks about that. You know, some of the lyrics are, prior to my birth, I was part of Mother Earth, in the water and the dirt, floating as a white cloud, a river with a girth that was carving out a curve in the globe, so I know that I'm guided, intelligent life united. I think that acknowledgement of that experience is important. You know, even if I'm not this piece of grass, I'm not this tree behind me, even the acknowledgement that without any judgment, if I take away thinking, we're in an experience together. I am connected in experience with this tree right now. It's a beautiful thing. To me, it's a beautiful thing. So I hope you enjoy this song, and I hope it gives you that sense, even a little bit.
These days I don't got a steady income. I'm quite a ways from the way that I live. Some days get away from the worry in my system. Then I be still, I feel the wisdom. Everything in nature's always at peace. No struggle with a struggle that's always at ease. It is, what happens at least is a part of a life the cycle completes. So when I let the nature in me find a way to balance out, then without a doubt I am free. I can either fight with might, I might flee. In the face of a threat, sometimes I might freeze. But I know that it all is guided, intelligent life united. And I'm a piece of the whole, and that piece of my soul, cause I know that I'm never divided. So I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, so I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, so I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, no, no. I cannot lie now. There was a time when I wanna just lie down and say goodbye to the world, as I know I need a break for a moment, but I wouldn't let me cry out. So I blocked all emotion and I tied down my spirit, cause I feared it wasn't right now. Then my body and my mind had turned against me. I must defend, we've gotta fight now. But prior to my birth, I was part of Mother Earth, in the water and the dirt, floating as a white cloud, a river with a girth that was carving out a curve in the globe. So I know that I'm guided, intelligent life united. And I'm a piece of the whole, and a piece of my soul, cause I know that I'll never be divided. So I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey, so I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey, so I sing it like, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no, no. Hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, hey, na, na, hey, no, no. One day I took a look all around at the sun above and bugs on the ground, the green grass that grows in mud color brown. In that moment I'll tell you what I found, is we're all the same. Life by any name is still lonely life, and that cannot change. So we all are one, this, that, and those are a piece of the sum from which we all sprung. And everything depends on everything to live, and that means you're a blessing to those that you give. Some days you're the lung, other days the rib, and nature is a mother and you and I her kids. So we sing, hey, na, na, hey, no. Hey, na, na, hey.